Namaste, Dandavat Pranam, by the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramātmā, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam, and following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we are praying to Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has told us that unless we can understand something about Radharani within Bhagavatam, then our study has been for waste, if we haven't done that. Yadi seva vanchitasya ma, yasya kripaya vayam labema, sarvam prapnuma prayojanam, damni Shri Bhagavat Pade, Krishna sambandhi sarvam cha, yadi na jani mahetutam, ashtadashasu sahasreshu, shlokanam Bhagavat oktishu, radharanim na vindamatada, Nishfalam Bhagavat Adhyayanam Radhikaya Kripam Vina Vyartasyat Sarva Parishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham, and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then our study of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Śrīmati Rādhārāṇī, all of our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading today from Canto 5, Chapter 11, Text 12. Kshetragya eta manaso vibhutir jivasya maya rachitasya nitya avirhita kvapi tirohitascha shudho vichastehya vishuddhakartu. The individual soul bereft of Krishna consciousness has many ideas and activities created in the mind by the external energy. They have been existing from time immemorial. Sometimes they are manifest in the awakening state and in the dream state. But during deep sleep, unconsciousness, or trance, they disappear. A person who is liberated in this life, Jivan Mukta, can see all these things vividly. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 13.3, Kshetragyam chap imam vidhi sarva kshetreshu Bharata. There are two kinds of Kshetragya, or living beings. One is the individual living being, and the other is the supreme living being. The ordinary living being knows about his body to some extent, but the supreme Paramātmā knows the condition of all bodies. The individual living being is localized, and the supreme Paramātmā is all-pervading. In this shloka, the word Kshetragya refers to an ordinary living being, not the supreme living being. This ordinary living being is of two kinds, Nitya-Baddha or Nitya-Mukta. One is eternally conditioned and the other is eternally liberated. The eternally liberated living beings are in the Vaikuntha Jagat, the spiritual world, and they never fall into the material world. Those in the material world are conditioned souls, Nitya-Baddha. The Nitya-Baddhas can become liberated by controlling the mind because the cause of conditioned life is the mind. When the mind is trained and the soul is not under the mind's control, the soul can be liberated even in this material world. When it is liberated, one is called Jivan Mukta. A Jivan Mukta knows how he has become conditioned. Therefore, he tries to purify himself and return back home, back to Godhead. The eternally conditioned soul is eternally conditioned because he is controlled by the mind. The conditioned state and liberated state are compared to the sleeping unconscious state and the awakened state. Those who are sleeping and unconscious are eternally conditioned, but those who are awake understand that they are eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, even in this material world, they engage in Krishna service as confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Iha yasya harer dasye. If one takes the Krishna service, he is liberated, even though he appears to be a conditioned soul within the material world. Jivan mukta sauchate. In any condition, one is to be considered liberated if his only business is to serve Krishna. Text 13 through 14. Chaitragya Atma Purusha Purana Sakshat Swayam Jyotir Aja Paresha Narayano Bhagavan Vasudeva Swamhaya Yatman Yavadiyamana Yatanila Stavara Jangamanam Atma Swarupena Nivishta Isat Evam Paro Bhagavan Vasudeva Chaitragya Atmedam Anu Pravishta. There are two kinds of Chaitragya, the living entity, as explained above, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is explained as follows. He is the all-pervading cause of creation. He is full in himself and is not dependent on others. He is perceived by hearing and direct perception. He is self-effulgent and does not experience birth, death, old age, or disease. He is the controller of all demigods, beginning with Lord Brahma. He is called Narayan, and he is the shelter of living entities after the annihilation of this material world. He is full of all opulences, and he is the resting place of everything material. He is therefore known as Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his own potency. He is present within the hearts of all living entities, just as the air or vital force is within the bodies of all beings, moving and non-moving. In this way, he controls the body. In his partial feature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters all bodies and controls them. Purport. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Sarvasya chaham hridishani vishto matasmatir jnanam apohanam cha. Every living being is controlled by the Supreme Living Being, Paramātmā, who resides within everyone's heart. He is the Purusha avatar, who creates this material world. The first Purusha avatar is Mahavishnu, and that Mahavishnu is the plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna's first expansion is Baladev, and his next expansions are Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Vasudeva is the original cause of the Brahma Jyoti, and the Brahma Jyoti is the expansion of the rays of the body of Vasudeva. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagaranda koti Kotishvasesha vasudhari vibhuti binam Tad brahma nishkalam anantamasesha bhutam Govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. Brahma Samhita 5.40. The sphere, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is thus described in Bhagavad Gita. Mayaya tattam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matstani sarabhutani nachaham teshvavastita. By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Bhagavad Gita 9.4. This is the position of the plenary expansions of Krishna as the all-pervading Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Dandavat Pranam Tosi Maharani Devi Dasi. Text 15. Nayavad etam tanu brihinarendra vidhuya mayam vayunadayena vimukta shango jita satsapatno vedhatma tattvam brahmati hatavat. My dear King Rahūgaṇa, as long as the conditioned soul accepts the material body and is not freed from the contamination of material enjoyment, and as long as he does not conquer his 6 enemies and come to the platform of self-realization by awakening his spiritual knowledge, he has to wander among different places and different species of life in this material world. Purport. When one's mind is absorbed in the material conception, he thinks that he belongs to a particular nation, family, country, or creed. These are all called upadis, designations, and one has to become freed from them. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. C.C. Madhya 19.170. As long as one is not freed, he has to continue conditioned life in material existence. The human form of life is meant for cleansing away these misconceptions. If this is not done, one has to repeat the cycle of birth and death, and thus suffer all material conditions. Text 16. Nayavad etan mana atma lingam samsara tapava panam chanasya yachchoka maho maya ragaloba varanu bandam mamatam vidhate. The soul's designation, the mind, is the cause of all tribulations in the material world. As long as this fact is unknown to the conditioned living entity, he has to accept the miserable condition of the material body and wander within this universe in different positions. Because the mind is affected by disease, lamentation, illusion, attachment, greed, and enmity, it creates bondage and a false sense of intimacy within this material world. Purport. The mind is the cause of both material bondage and liberation. The impure mind thinks, I am this body. The pure mind knows that he is not the material body. Therefore, the mind is considered to be the root of all material designations. Until the living entity is aloof from the association and contaminations of this material world, the mind will be absorbed in such material things as birth, death, disease, illusion, attachment, greed, and enmity. In this way, the living entity is conditioned, and he suffers material miseries. Text 17. Bratrivyam enam tad adha braviryam upekshaya jeditam apramata gurur harischarano pashanastro jahi vyalikam svayam atmamosham. This uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. Purport. There is one easy weapon with which the mind can be conquered: neglect. The mind is always telling us to do this or that. Therefore, we should be very expert in disobeying the mind's orders. Gradually, the mind should be trained to obey the orders of the soul. It is not that one should obey the orders of the mind. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that to control the mind, one should beat it with shoes many times, just after awakening and again before going to sleep. In this way, one can control the mind. This is the instruction of all the Shastras. If one does not do so, one is doomed to follow the dictations of the mind. Another bona fide process is to abide strictly by the orders of the spiritual master and engage in the Lord's service. Then the mind will be automatically controlled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed Srila Rupa Goswami, Brahmanda Brahmite Konha Bhagyavan Jīva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. When one receives the seed of devotional service by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's real life begins. If one abides by the orders of the spiritual master, by the grace of Krishna, he is freed from service to the mind. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 11th chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Jaḍa Bharata Instructs King Rahūgaṇa. We will continue from chapter 12 on Wednesday. Before we conclude, were there any comments or questions or anything to share from the assembled devotees? Shivam, your audio is not coming again. You can't hear.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Like in the last verse, Prabhupada told to neglect the mind, and Prabhupada wrote there, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada has told to beat it with shoes. But I don't understand what that means. First and second, in the Bhagavad Gita, we find that Arjun says, it's easy for me to control the wind, but I can't control the mind. So it seems like that first thing to neglect the mind is very difficult. And the second thing it seems that without spiritual master, it is not possible to even control the mind. I wanted to know that project from you.
Yes. To become a disciple means to discipline the mind. So instead of following our mind, when we have Gurudev, we're following his mind. He's giving us instructions, and we're choosing to follow them instead of following the whims of our own mind. So yes, very, very much having Gurudev there is the way to control the mind. And through practicing bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, I think this is how Bhakti Siddhanta intends us to beat the mind in the morning and in the evening. However, we have access to the Vani, Guru Vani, if Guru is not directly in front of us. We have lots of tapes of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, all the acharyas, all the gurus. We can listen. Instead of listening to the mind, we listen to their Hari Katha. In Shravanam, we chant. And then in that way, remembrance is the beating of the mind, because remembrance means now our mind is occupied with remembering that Guru Vani. It's taking the place of whatever our thoughts are, the Shravanam. Right? If we're remembering their instructions and their guidance, then it's hard for our minds bickering to have central stage. And so if we're not remembering properly and we are being too much influenced by our mind, then we have to go back to Shravanam. We have to hear more, go listen to the tapes or read the book, and then try to meditate on what they're saying and kirtanam, chant. And in that way we're trying to become stronger in Shravanam. And by exercising Shravanam like that, then we're beating the mind, trying to get it into accord with that Vani. So I think that's the way to go. No doubt we have to, we need some support though, support group and accountability. Is very difficult to do on our own. And but yes, definitely they've given us the process. They've given us so much Katha, Hari Katha to listen to. So we have to just take it upon ourselves to consciously engage with that rather than just being the slave of our mind. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Prapanatirtha Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the worldwide devotees. Sama Bhaktiveda Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Navadvip Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri
Jai.
Dham ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju ki jai, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham ki jai, Shyam Kund Radha
Jai.
Kund ki jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi
Jai.
Vrunda Devi ki jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Jai Princeton Bhaktivedanta
Jai.
Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Jai Śrīmati Tulsi Maharani
Haribol.
ki jai, Bhakti Shivam ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. And Krishna
Jai
Keshava
Gurudev.
Das ki Jai.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.